In the first part of this series on emotion work, we explored why the experience of strong, powerful, intense emotions disturbs our inner peace. Why emotions have a tendency to pull us into the mind. And the experience of these emotions creates a turmoil of the mind, a chaos, a rapidly shifting thought stream. And how these emotions can be unbearable, seemingly unacceptable. Intense emotion has the capacity, the potential to create suffering if we don't know the correct perspective with which to experience those emotions. So, in this episode today, I'd like to speak on how to continue to abide within the space of presence, to remain at peace, even when there is the presence of intense, powerful emotions. You might think that's not possible, which is a perfectly logical thing to think. After all, these powerful emotions have disturbed our peace for our entire life. But herein lies the promise and the power of the awakening process. To be liberated from the suffering that these intense emotions cause. Which is not to say, and this is very important, that we are going to remove these emotions altogether. That is not how we find inner peace. We may find in time that the experience of the afflictive emotions lessens, quietens, and you go long periods of time without these darker experiences of emotion. You may find there are just long periods of time in the awakening process where there's just no anxiety. And it's not hiding, it's actually not there. This has been true in my experience, which was quite the relief, let me tell you, because I had experienced severe anxiety since my earliest memories. So to go long periods without it at all was profound. So too for the afflictive emotions and the common, very negative experiences of emotion, we're looking at depression, shame, guilt, sorrow, rage, resentment, frustration. These very deep, very sticky, very dark experiences of emotion that everybody experiences at some point in their life. But the aim of this discipline today is not to remove these emotions. And that is quite an important understanding, an important recognition. Because in many ways, it is our attempt to remove or distract ourselves from negative emotions and states of mind that has actually caused our suffering. So let's take a look at what to do. What to do when these powerful emotions are there. And I'll begin by giving something of a warning, which is not to put you off, but is, I believe, forewarned is forearmed. And if you know something is coming, if the experience arises, then you won't panic. We are going to be delving deep into shadow space, which is characterized as being the material, the feelings, the thoughts, the memories, the emotions, and the beliefs that are ordinarily hidden from our conscious awareness. And we are purposefully bringing the conscious awareness to those areas so that we can understand and recognize that the presence of the ever peaceful conscious awareness is undisturbable and absolutely capable of observing and abiding within this shadow space. But the thing about the shadow is, it's hidden for a reason. We repress and bury these thoughts and feelings because when they first arose, they were unacceptable to us. We simply did not have the mechanisms, the resources, or the capacity to truly accept these thoughts, these feelings, these experiences. And so, through no fault of your own, this material fell into the corners of your conscious awareness. And there, fester in the darkness. Now, upon bringing light to that darkness, and the light here refers to the light of our consciousness, our awareness, which is not just perceiving with the eyes or up in the mind, but actually felt with the entirety of the being, the felt sense of the body. We invite these emotions out of their hiding place. And if the prospect of that makes you a little nervous, good. It's supposed to. In fact, the very nervousness about facing these things is the mechanism that prevents you from accessing them. But we must access them if we wish to deepen our realization, if we wish to remain in the peace of the awakened state. Because you will find, as you engage with this awakening process, with your meditative journey, with your spiritual journey, with your process of healing, that often you find long periods of apparent time totally at peace, but there is just a nagging, a dark shroud that seems to exist just outside of the space of consciousness. Or you will find that your peace, your joy, your bliss sometimes just comes crashing down, and you find you panic as you had found such a relieving and invigorating sense of peace and bliss, an awakened state. And so when the nagging darkness pulled you back down into ego identification, perhaps you feel a sense of despair. And so if this is you, if you have found this, or you simply want a method and a perspective, a discipline, an understanding that helps to stabilize the spectrum of emotions, then here is the understanding. Preferably, finding a space in which you won't be disturbed for however long it takes. This is not always possible, and with some practice this can be done anywhere at any time. At work, driving, shopping, looking after the kids. This is the liberation. Being able to accept and abide with and as all emotion, undisturbed. But perhaps when beginning this type of work, if possible, find a space that is at least somewhat secure. Now, you may already be in the grip of a powerful emotion. That may be why you found this video today, and that's fine. In fact, that's excellent. Half the work is done for us already. Or maybe this is at a time outside of the grip of an emotion, but you wish to be prepared for when that happens, or you just wish to do some very deep shadow work as your meditative practice today. And the very first thing to do here is find the space of presence. The moment we go to future or past, we're up in the mind. And the truly important thing is not to go into the mind, but to abide in the body. The felt experience of the body. So bringing ourselves into the here and now. There is no future. It simply does not exist. So too, there is no past. It simply does not exist. The past can exist in our mind as a memory, but even the memory arises within the now. So just be here. Just this. Just this. And we can focus our conscious attention into the now through the senses. Just observe through sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, and recognize that you can only experience a perception, a sense perception that is happening now. So through a total, pure observation, fully bringing oneself into the here and now through the senses. And notice the mind has a tendency to fall into a habit, a pattern of analysing, interpreting, attempting to label and name, and create mental images after the sense perception is received. And just not engaging with this habit brings us to inner peace. Simply relieve yourself of the burden of trying to decide if what you see, hear, touch, taste, smell is either good or bad. We are simply not interested for this time. Just be. Like a lens on a camera. But the camera has no card in it, has no hard drive. It's just a lens. And just be as that. Just the clear, open screen of awareness. Able to receive and observe all. But not holding on to anything. And if there is mind activity, this is okay, this will fall away in time. Drop into the body. In. We are not interested in outwards now. Let's go in, inwards. Fully immersed in the breath. Allow the sensation of breathing to flood the body. Open your awareness to everything that is happening within the body. And let us begin to explore this emotion work. So if there is already the presence of a strong emotion, simply observe and we have dropped away the future, dropped away the past, and do not attach any mental image. Do not add any narrative to this emotion. Just feel it as it is in the now. and begin to feel this from the perspective of pure awareness. Meaning, do not add any interpretation. Do not add any analysis. Do not try to attach positive or negative to the sensation of this emotion. Notice that your mind will continually try to take hold of this emotion and turn it into a narrative, will try to get rid of it, will try to bury it. Just be aware of this habit and do not engage with the mind. Just leave it. Instead, draw your attention to the sensation of the emotion itself and breathe. This is one of the most challenging methods and practices there are. So there is no judgment if you are finding this difficult. It is going to be difficult by definition. Do not wrestle with this emotion. Do not fight it. Do not try to either hold on to it or to push it away. Just hands off. As the space of conscious awareness, what is this feeling? What actually is it? What's it made of? Deeply unpleasant. Highly painful. Yes, accepting this. This too, this too, this too. The most important and crucial part of this is to just let this be as it is. Apply a true, deep, unconditional love to this sensation. Allow it to be here, in the light. It doesn't have to hide in the darkness anymore. You're not going to try and bury it. You're not going to try and run away. You're not going to distract yourself. But instead, just this. Just this, just this. This might be an emotion that you have struggled with for a very long time. And notice the deep shift that is happening by lessening the resistance to this emotion. No resistance. Which is not to say you are condemning yourself to feel this forever. It's a sense of, I have the space for this if it needs to rise. I am the space for this. Whatever feeling, sensation, emotion needs to be here, I accept. I, as the presence of conscious awareness, am able to expand my capacity to love all parts of this being. Not just the parts that I ordinarily prefer, but now opening awareness to accept, allow, be aware of, and gently, with compassion, now expanding to include even the deepest, darkest, grimiest parts. And deeply recognize that you are the space in which this can rise. This is not a negative feeling of which you are subjected to. Drop the relationship between you and the emotion, and instead abide as the emotion. The emotion is made of awareness. Its substance is awareness. So as the awareness, just be. Understanding that as the lens of this conscious perception, the lens is sometimes observing particular qualities of colour. But the lens does not have preferences. The lens does not prefer a certain scene over another. It can observe and allow through as an aperture of perception the most pristine, glorious beauty and the most hideous, gruesome darkness. But you are neither the pristine beauty nor the gruesome darkness. You are the lens. Drop in deeply to this emotion, and yes, this too. To recognize one has been running from this for many, many years. But now, finally, it is allowed to be as it is. To have its time in the space of awareness from which it has been forced to hide for so long. The crucial part here recognize this deeply with me now. Herein lies the liberation. Do not turn this into a practice. That is a subtle mechanism by which the mind creates a narrative out of this emotion. No narratives. No narratives. The suffering of the emotion is contained within the narrative. No more narratives. None. Done. Over. The book is closed and burned. The moment that this accepting and allowing of the emotion becomes a narrative is the moment we begin to suffer again. No narratives, just the raw intensity of the emotion. It has no power to harm you. You are the infinite expanse of awareness. No emotion can stain you. No emotion can damage you. Just as no storm can damage the sky, it is just a temporary obscuration. Know this. Recognize this deeply. You are aware. That's it. I know this is unpleasant. That's okay. The presence of something unpleasant is not suffering. Pain is not suffering. It's just a sensation. Have courage. Have discipline. Be this. Be as this. This too, this too, this too. A true knowing of all parts of oneself. Even if there is some surprise at the quality of the emotion that rises, don't be pulled into the mind. You won't forget anything. Just be here, now, as this. Into the body, the cloud of sensation in which all of this rises. And if there is some tension or tightness here, just allow this too. Dropping into the body as pure, open, empty awareness, accepting and allowing all tensions and sensations. And allow the emotion to be here. It has the space to abide here, within this field of sensation that is the body. And notice where in the body it is primarily felt. This is the hiding place of the emotion. Flood the body with awareness. And breathe. Fully here, fully now. No future, no past, just breathe. Flushing out the hiding place of the emotion in the body. It doesn't have to hide in the body now. It's free to rise into the space of conscious awareness and no longer has to hide buried within any areas of the field of sensation that is the body. Release. And understanding. Release does not mean to push away. Like holding a half-inflated helium balloon on a very still day. There's no wind, no breeze, and the helium balloon is only half inflated. You may choose to release, but notice the balloon is very gently drifting. This is how we release a sticky, dark emotion. Let go and let it be. It may stay, that is fine. You are allowed to be here. As unpleasant as this emotion may be, notice the resistance now is just beginning to dissolve. Nothing to push away, no need to run away, no need to bury. Just this. And yes, it's still fierce. Do not be disheartened if you notice that this emotion is still fierce. That's fine. That's good. It's supposed to be. It won't harm you. It needs the space that it never had. The damage is caused by burying or clinging. But upon a release and an acceptance and an allowing, we find, it's okay that it's here. And now it's released. Still in the presence of this emotion, this sensation. Just feeling it as it is. Now that it's at a safe distance. As the presence of awareness observes the emotion and abides as the emotion. Now, very gently, without going too much up into the mind, gently, just the gentle inquiry. What is the name of this emotion? What actually is it that you are feeling? It will be one of them. But notice that sometimes it can be quite surprising to find that this very unpleasant emotion and sensation either evades being named or is not the emotion that you previously thought it was, or you actually don't know what emotion this is. It just feels awful. But now it's released, and keep your hands out of it, so to speak. Do not let the mind take hold of it. This is not the time for analysis. That can come later if we wish. This is not the time for interpretation. This is not even the time for healing. Don't try to heal this feeling. Instead, just know it. That is all. That is all. This perspective. Just know. Now, you may have found that there is the name for this emotion. And you can now, having felt it fully, truly understand what it is you are feeling. And some of these may include, but this is not all of them, shame, guilt, resentment, regret, fear, rage, sorrow, grief. Maybe it was none of those, and you have yet to find an adequate name that truly describes this emotion, and that is fine. Now that the presence of awareness fully knows the sensation, it will do its work, and this can begin to happen automatically. And in this space, this now has the open expansiveness in which to evaporate. It must simply be known. With love, with kindness, with acceptance. You don't need other people to accept your emotion. You don't need others to love this emotion. You don't need it. You don't need others to validate this feeling. You don't. It's yours. Just be knowingly as this. Continue with a disciplined focus of attention. And if the mind keeps wandering to narratives and memories and tries to create new stories out of everything, just with an amused curiosity, see what it's doing and let it go. We can even say to the mind, thank you, but this is not your task. The mind should never have gotten a hold of this. Just release the mind of the burden of trying to fix and heal this emotion. You can be here. That is fine. I'm not going to be angry at this emotion. Do not try to train your mind to do this. This is not a function of the mind that we are doing now. This is a function of the awakened presence of being. It has nothing to do with the mind. So this is not a practice, and we are not training. We're not getting stronger. Instead, simply recognizing the correct position to allow for this emotion. Continually expand the container. Constant, eternal expansion. Feel the evaporation. Being in this, as this. No shadow can survive the light. Once the light is upon a shadow, the shadow vanishes and may reveal dark corners of grime and dirt. That is fine. The shadow is now gone and all is revealed. The entirety of your being. Welcoming all parts of yourself. All parts. Every single part. And this spectrum of emotion is harmonizing, resolving. A single spectrum, a shape of all the emotions that was constrained and constricted in certain areas, that was repressed and tied up in other areas. In the space and light of conscious awareness, this spectrum can unbind, unfurl, and be allowed to breathe, to expand, to live. To be free, unashamed, unabashed, but liberated, expanded. And find that despite the years of mishandling and mistreatment, which we all go through, there is health here. health comes from the word whole. And with the light of conscious awareness allowed to cover the entirety of your being, you are made whole, renewed. This is where you are given a new body, with all emotions flushed out, allowed to be where they're supposed to be, not tied up, not knotted. And place no judgment upon yourself. None. The time for judgment is over. That is in other hands. In the loving space, compassionate awareness, all is well. You've never done anything wrong. Knowingly be whole. There is a renewal here. This is the ground from which renewed life can grow. Soil rich with manure is the most fertile. And so the processing of those dark, sticky, manure-like emotions provides the fertile soil from which your new life can grow. But one must accept its presence. And all is well. Now, do not leave this perspective. Now, expanded in the accepting state, the allowance, the open light of consciousness, just stay there. Just stay here. Hard work, I know. But you have done so well. I will see you in the next episode. Take care, be well, and stay present.